Bitcoin's trillion-dollar boom, the cryptocurrency hitting a new milestone, topping $57,000 before sliding overnight, as you can see.
Can you explain the move over the weekend? Obviously, we've come back now a bit. I don't know if we were discussing whether we call that a correction. Is 10% a correction in Bitcoin land?
A week after a boom in NFTs, we may be getting some insight into what's behind these gigantic moves. Robert Frank joins us this morning with more on that front. What are you hearing, Robert?
I want to tap into your expertise in terms of what's going on with Bitcoin and the digital dollar. How do you see things changing in terms of digital assets in the coming years? And how soon will a transition take place?
You know, Bitcoin's trading like 100 vol instrument at this point. So yeah, 10%, I guess, is within the one standard deviation up and down move these days. Listen, you know, the stimulus checks are coming. People are excited about that. A lot of the stimulus checks are going to young people who want to buy Bitcoin. But more importantly from that, in the last 3 months, we've had this secular shift where Bitcoin has become an asset. It's not maybe, it's not, it might be, it's now an asset class. Cryptocurrency is an asset class. Every bank is moving in, every tech company is moving in, and all portfolios are starting to move in.
We're really seeing some interesting action going on, Maria. You know, we're seeing the traditional role of retail investors in this new asset class, especially in Bitcoin, with their comfort level with technology and their comfort level with the decentralization aspects of this, and they're actually antipathy toward the traditional financial system.
And so if you're not long, you're short. And that's just what you see on every dip. There are institutional buyers lined up to buy this thing.
But what's really changing is the growing role of institutional investors in this new asset class, with the likes of Mass Mutual and the United States' oldest bank, the Bank of New York Mellon, moving in a big way. And they really see this as both, on one hand, a hedge against inflation, but also almost like a new risk category of assets in a risk-on environment.
So you think this weekend was institutions, not retail money?
No, this weekend was retail. What happens on the weekend is retail gets excited. You can tell because the cost of leverage goes way up on the weekend. And so the basis trading, different measures of how expensive it is to get leverage goes up. Then maybe one bad story, one nervous, moment, and everyone stops themselves back out. And so, from Friday afternoon, we're roughly 1% from where we were. And so if you're a normal market, you come in Monday morning, you roll up your sleeves, and you're like, okay, nothing's changed.
And all this is made possible by innovations we brought to bear over the last 4 years, especially with the launch of Bitcoin futures back in 2017.
Bitcoin goes 24/7. And so for the Bitcoiners, it was a big weekend.
So what does this mean in terms of the regulatory framework? Lawmakers this week proposed legislation for a cryptocurrency task force that would look at the current regulations and recommend ways to improve markets to prevent fraud. You founded an early version of this task force while serving at the CFTC. So what do you expect regulators to find, and what will be the barriers in place for the digital dollar, if you will, going forward?
Robert Frank did a report earlier today about the connection between the NFT market and the Bitcoin market. That the buyer, for example, on some of Beeple's stuff and other things, really are coming from people who've made a lot of money in Bitcoin. So how connected are these markets?
Yeah, I think this is a really important point. This is where I was going to go next. China is also trying to beat the United States in this effort. Assess that, where the U.S. is in that regard, and how important will it be for the U.S. to have a strategy in place as far as digital assets to compete with what's happening in China?
Well, Becky, NFT sales now topping $500 billion, and it's no coincidence that at the same time the market cap of Bitcoin reached $1 trillion, Ether topping $220 billion. Experts say the NFT craze and the crypto bull market are not only linked, they're actually fueling each other's growth. In February alone, NFT sales hit $340 million. That's up from $12 million in December. The biggest collectors of NFTs are some of the earliest investors in cryptocurrencies. There are now about a half dozen crypto billionaires and an estimated 100,000 crypto millionaires. All that wealth looking for a home.
They're very connected. right? The NFT market is an extension of crypto, right? If Bitcoin was the first digital money you couldn't counterfeit, we now have that same concept going on into art, into IP. And so the early adopters of NFTs are almost all crypto people. A lot from the Ethereum community, right? Because it's built on the Ethereum blockchain. And so you see people that have made their money in crypto starting to participate. And that's a trend we see. We introduce someone to Bitcoin, they understand it, they like it, they start making money, and then they say, oh, what else? And then they look at the Ethereum ecosystem and start to understand what decentralized compute is and say, wow, that could really change the world. And then they look at decentralized finance and now NFTs. And so people are walking that journey along with us.
Absolutely, Maria. You know, coming out of the last financial crisis, society, outside of the official sector, society has been experimenting with digital money. They've been doing that quite successfully. Bitcoin is part of that. There's over 3,000 to 4,000 different cryptocurrencies out in operation.
NFTs are some of the only assets they can buy right now at the games that offer a liquid and active market. The buyer of that $69 million Beeple NFT, who goes by the name Meta Coben, he described himself as a crypto investor since 2013 and paid for that NFT in Ether. Another big NFT collector is Tim Kang. He's a music and crypto entrepreneur. He bought Ether in 2016 and is now paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for Beeple NFTs. The underbidder for that Beeple at Christie's was Justin Sun. He is the founder of the cryptocurrency platform Tron.
How much do you think there's a natural point at which this gets to, let's say this gets to $100,000 or $200,000? Does that take the wind out of the air of Bitcoin to some degree? Because at some point, you know, you can't make these 200, 300, 400, 500% gains the way you could have, obviously, if you were buying this thing when it was under $5,000.
Yeah, governments have actually arrived relatively late on the scene, but the leading one has been China. China has launched now a digital yuan. There's millions of people in China now using this. There's hundreds of companies involved in this effort.
So, Becky, as we heard from Mike Novogratz earlier, these two markets, crypto and NFTs, are really an extension of each other.
So the law of large numbers kicks in, and it gets harder for it to go higher. Listen, in the long run, we're in this once-in-a-lifetime secular shift where we had something that wasn't an asset class that's becoming an asset class. So every insurance company and pension fund and endowment and money manager needs to get something on the books. And so that's why we're having this kind of one-off secular shift.
Robert, I don't know why that didn't occur to me earlier, but if you want to buy something with all your big gains that you've made in cryptocurrency, but you don't want to sell the crypto because then you have to pay the taxes on what you've made, this is the way to do it. I don't know why that didn't occur to me before.
I think after that, Bitcoin will literally be like a report card for how citizens think the government is doing managing their finances.
Yeah, and it dawned on me at the end of last week after this Beeple issue and after I spoke to Meta Coben's partner who explained that he paid in Ether. And you're right, you would have to, if you just sold your crypto, you have to pay taxes on that, and you probably, depending on where you are, have to report it to the government. With NFTs, you just roll that wealth right into something else that will also appreciate.
Listen, this new stimulus was a 10% GDP deficit on top of a giant deficit.
Now, where it all ends or how you eventually cash out, we don't know. But right now, this is a way to protect and store your wealth without getting rid of crypto, which would also, by the way, hurt the prices of crypto. If all these early pioneers sold their vast amounts of crypto, that would hurt prices.
Right? We're kind of in uncharted territories on how much money we're printing. And Bitcoin is a report card on that.
Who controls the underlying protocols? Who controls the underlying standards of the future of money will control the future of money. Who controls the digital standards of digital money? And by the way, digital money is the future.